Good evening, viewers, and welcome to this edition of NTV Sports Page. It's Wednesday, the 10th of June, and I'm Curtis Moore. In our headlines, ICC makes new rulings due to COVID-19 fears, and in our feature for this evening, Jan Grell Hull, netball icon on Nevis. We'll take this break, and I'll be right back.
Wash your hands with soap and water. Having clean hands reduces the spread of diseases like COVID-19. Let's show you how to do it. After wetting your hands, close the tap. Add soap and lather your palms. The back of your hands, between your fingers. Back of fingertips in your palm. Your thumbs. The tips of your fingers in your palm. And don't forget your wrists. Use a tissue to open the tap, as this was last touched by your unwashed hands. Rinse your hands thoroughly. Finally, use tissues to dry both hands and discard in the bin. During this 50 seconds of hand washing, we had the tap running for only 7.5 seconds, saving 85% of water otherwise wasted. Water is a precious resource, and in some countries it is scarce. So as you wash your hands, don't waste water. We are PAHO, and we care.
Well, I'm back, and we start with cricket. The ICC has decided to allow substitutes only in Test cricket if a player shows symptoms of COVID-19, and has also introduced a new system of issuing 2 warnings per innings, followed by a 5-run penalty for repeated use of saliva on the ball. Those decisions were approved by the ICC's Chief Executive Committee based on the recommendations made recently by the ICC Cricket Committee. The CEC also approved the use of non-neutral umpires for all international formats and added the use of an unsuccessful review for each team in each innings of a match. All these are interim adjustments to the playing conditions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The ICC Cricket Committee, headed by former India captain Anil Kumble, had recommended that sweat and not any artificial substance should be used to shine the ball. That sweat was a safer option than saliva was approved by the ICC's chief medical expert, Dr. Peter Harcourt, who had highlighted that COVID-19 was an airborne respiratory infection and highly contagious. The ICC has said that the match officials will penalize teams only after a period of leniency as players get used to the new playing conditions, which comprise staying in a biosecure environment and playing behind closed doors. In case saliva was applied on the ball by the fielding team, the ICC said the umpires will first clean the ball before play recommences. Players will not be permitted to use saliva to shine the ball, the ICC said in a media release. If a player does apply saliva to the ball, the umpires will manage the situation with some leniency during an initial period of adjustment for the players, but subsequent instances will result in the team receiving a warning. A team can be issued up to 2 warnings per innings, but repeated use of saliva on the ball will result in a 5-run penalty to the batting side. Like for substitutes only in Test teams, will also be allowed to replace a player if he or she shows symptoms of COVID-19, but only during a Test match. In line with concussion replacements, the match referee will approve the nearest like-for-like replacement, the ICC said. Kumble's committee had deliberated on the issue and was not in favor of such substitutes once Harcourt said that test results could come back in about half-hour time. Some of the cricket committee members had felt if testing could be done that quickly and a player was found infected, that would mean both teams and coaching staff would need to go into isolation for 2 weeks as per the medical procedure. The committee felt in that case COVID-19 substitutes were not needed. Neutral umpires will not be officiating in the test for the first time since 2002. The CEC agreed that owing to the current logistical challenges, home umpires would stand in all three formats. The local umpires would be picked from the ICC's elite panel and international panel of match officials. Well, that's certainly very interesting. We'll take this break and I'll be back with our feature for this evening.
As a fisherman, I use the marine resource wisely so I can conserve our biodiversity. So I can fish for life. It's all about balance.
I preserve biodiversity by the way that I farm. It takes care of my family. It's all about balance.
I have enjoyed these seas all my life. I do my best to conserve our biodiversity because I want my children and my grandchildren to enjoy them as much as I do. It's all about balance.
I'm a park ranger, and my job is to properly manage our protected areas and conserve our biodiversity. It's all about balance.
Youth, let's play a part in conserving our biodiversity and maintaining our natural resources. It's all about balance.
For life, for livelihood, for the future of St. Kitts and Nevis, let's all conserve our biodiversity and use our natural resources wisely. It's all about balance.
Well, I'm back, and tonight netball is in the spotlight. You say netball, I say Jan Gwel Hull. Tonight I have the privilege to once again speak with Nevis's #1 netball icon, Janet Gwel Hull. Let's take in this. I'm here with the distinguished lady herself. My understanding is that she claims to be over 70 years old. I'm not too sure if the birth certificate will verify that. But I want to say good afternoon to you, Jan. How are you today?
Good afternoon. I'm fine, thank you.
Now, would that birth certificate verify what I'm hearing, that you're over 70?
Let me clarify this now and forever, because every time you come to interview me, you have the same story, right? I was born in April 1946,
Okay.
which makes me 74.
Wow.
Okay?
Well, you are truly one of those rare ones that age slowly. You don't look anything near 74. Let me let you know that officially.
Thank you very much. But
All right.
one has to take care of themselves.
I agree with that.
Takes
No.
exercise and eating right.
I agree. Now, Jan, let's talk a little bit about netball and your significant contributions to that wonderful sport. Where did it all start for you in terms of your love, your interest in the sport?
Well, before I talk to you about where did the interest come from, netball has always been my sport from since I was in high school, and I used to look at the big girls play, because we were like in the first form, and so the most that we could do is to
Just
look
watch.
on, because they had great players like Maria Rollins, Evelyn, and all those girls, and there was not a chance for us to get there. But I went out and did it on my own. So it became very dear to my heart. And it hurts me now to see that netball has just gone down the drain in Nevis. After working so hard from 1971 until 2003, when Nevis managed to tie in first place with Grenada in an under-23 tournament.
I remember that.
Right? It was the greatest thing that ever happened for netball and for me. And to see now that the netball complex has been reduced to, I would say, rubble. It has been under lock and key from 2017 until now. There's nothing in the schools. We can't use the complex. There's just no netball. And it is very,
Okay.
very, very disappointing.
But Jan, I know you're getting a little emotional, so we're going to get back to that.
Thank you.
But in terms of after watching from first form and watching these older girls play, how did you eventually get a game? And probably somebody taught you or whatever, you just watched and learned.
Well, we watched and learned. I never got a game in school. I was not even picked on a team in school.
Wow.
So after I left school, my mother also used to play netball. And we got together, and she got a netball team, and I got a netball team.
Two separate teams.
Two separate teams. Her team, of course, had older ladies, and my team had people maybe a little younger than me or my age. And we used to go down onto the park. That time the park was flat to the street.
Okay, and that's where the poles were.
Where all the trees lined the road. And so, to get my netball poles, I went to Harold Walters.
Okay.
And I explained to him the position because we had nowhere to put down permanent poles in the ground. And so he told me he will come up with something. And he got 2 rims from a car tire or wherever he got them. And he put the poles down in the rim, put on the rings and everything for us, and delivered them.
Wow.
And we were like wowed.
Okay.
And they were movable. So we would move them from down under the trees to up the road to in the street, because at that time they didn't have too many cars.
Right.
So whenever we wanted to practice like on a hard surface, we would go up the road by the high school, and we would put the poles in the street, and we would practice right there in the street without any mats or anything. We just play on the hard surface.
Did you and your mom ever get to compete against each other, the two teams?
Yeah, we used to play against one another, but it wasn't really highly competitive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in 1971, all of that was done in 1971. And then in 1972, we decided that we were going to form a netball association.
Okay.
Because at that time we had now the Charleston Secondary School coming in, and there was a team from Gingerland called Mountain Rockers. I don't know if you remember them.
Yes, I remember. And I remember Charleston Secondary School had a certain goal shooter by the name of Joya Clark.
Joya Clark, yes.
And Bernadette Bartlett. You remember those persons?
Bernadette Bartlett.
Yeah.
And so that year in 1972, we formed the Netball Association in April.
Okay.
And we invited Lester Lewis, who was the president of the Caribbean Netball Association, to Nevis. And because in that year, the tournament was going to be held in St. Kitts. The West Indies Netball Association was going to have their tournament in St. Kitts. And when she came down to visit St. Kitts, we invited her over to Nevis, right, to give us some pep talks and so on. And she did come, and she donated a trophy to the Netball Association for our local league.
Okay.
And so that is where it started. So we went into the local league that year with the 4 teams, with the 3 teams.
Charleston Secondary,
Mountain Rockers, and Sneakers Netball, which was my team, right? And the team to go to St. Kitts was chosen because even though we just started in 1972,
you just had some talent.
And the tournament was going to be held in St. Kitts in August, we decided, seeing that it's just in St. Kitts, we could go and take part, and we did.
How well did you do?
Well, Trinidad beat us 117-0, and that should be in the Guinness Book of Records.
Jan, could you repeat that slowly?
117 to no goals. But guess what? I broke my leg that same year.
Wow.
Playing, so I wasn't able to play in the tournament because if I was there,
definitely
we would have had to at least one goal. At least one goal we would have had to score.
Wow.
Right? And you know what happened? When Trinidad went back home, Dr. Eric Williams was so upset with the Trinidad team.
To beat up on Nevis like that?
Yes.
Okay.
And he donated a fair play trophy.
Okay.
Which all the teams played for every year from then.
Okay.
Because he said, you do not beat up on a team like that.
Wow.
If you meet a team and the team is not a strong team or not as strong as you,
Don't crucify
you
them.
don't do it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then, of course, Nevis would have learned from that thrashing and would have come through the ranks.
Of course.
In terms of success stories, tell us a little bit about some of the success stories, some of the persons who would have passed under your wings virtually and would have made some kind of a name for themselves on the local scene or regionally otherwise.
Well, there's so many girls that did well in netball
Okay.
that for me to just blurt them out right now is not possible. But the girls at that time, everybody loved the netball.
They showed it.
They showed it. So, and then you had people like Dora Stevens.
Yes, she was very
and my mother,
instrumental.
My mom was the president of the association. You had people like Sheila Daniel and Hendrickson. I think she's in St. Croix right now.
Okay.
And the secretary and treasurer.
Okay.
And so on. So we had those kind of people behind to push us.
Speaking of pushing us, you yourself would have made a mark regionally. Tell us which teams you would have represented, whether St. Kitts Nevis or whatever, and Caribbean-wide and so on.
Okay, from 1972 until 1985, I represented Nevis locally, regionally, and internationally.
Okay.
All right. I played World Championships.
For St. Kitts Nevis.
I was a member of the St. Kitts Nevis team in 1979. And we played in Trinidad. We had 21 teams in the world to take part. And St. Kitts Nevis was number 6. We came number 6 in the world.
And who was the goal shoot, may I ask?
Well, I was on as the goal shooter.
Okay.
And you had people like Gillian Musgrave.
Yeah, I've heard that she was pretty good too.
2 other girls from St. Kitts. We had 4 goal shooters. But I only played about 4 matches because you always had this kind of rivalry between St. Kitts and Nevis. And always think that Nevis not good enough. And even though that my goal average was the best in the 2 islands, because it wasn't federation yet, in the 2 islands, I had a hard time to even get on the court. And Crescente Oflahati and myself, only those 2 people from Nevis got selected.
Wow.
We started out with 15 girls from each island.
Wow, and
only 2 from Nevis. And to get selected, we had to go to every single practice in St. Kitts.
Wow.
We used to go over on fishing boat, sailing boat, the ferry.
People don't know the sacrifices.
No. The ferry, we had to catch the ferry, go down to St. Kitts. Sometimes we reach down, nobody show up to practice in St. Kitts. We had to run back down the pier to see if any little boats coming back to Nevis, you know, and those kind of things. And that's what we did, and we did it because we loved it. From our guts.
Speaking of which, though, I remember those days I didn't have a camera, but I remember watching your shoot. There was something about the poise. I would almost say some style in it. There was something about, where did you get that
I don't know.
Style. There's a little style in the shooting thing.
People always say that to me, but it's just me.
Just you.
It's just me. It wasn't anything.
There's like grace. There's something, you know?
Yeah, it wasn't anything that I decided that I'm going to do this poise to shoot. It just came out of me.
But
and that's how I am all the time.
Trust me, it's like a part of Jan. You see Jan, you see that point. It's like Mikey Holden in cricket. They always talk about his run-up.
Yeah.
How even the umpires didn't even hear him when he was approaching them, and that smooth run-up. Yeah, that you had a unique touch. Yeah.
So I understand.
Yeah. Okay, and so you eventually stopped playing and you got into administration. Tell us about how you feel about your years of leading the sport on Nevis.
Well, you know, in Nevis, in the Caribbean, in the Constitution, you could hold any position. And in our Constitution in Nevis, you can be a player and hold an executive position except president.
Oh, okay.
So for 13 years, 13 consecutive years, I played for Nevis and represented Nevis. And I held every executive position except president.
Okay.
So then, after we had the Caribbean Championships in Nevis in 1985, then I retired.
Okay.
And in 1986, I was voted president for Nevis.
And then you almost became president for life, because you did that for quite a number of years. How many years?
Up to 2015, I think.
Okay. Okay.
And I was also president of the St. Kitts Nevis Netball Association.
Right.
And I also revived the St. Kitts Nevis Netball Association, you know, up to 2015. And I had to rewrite the constitution for them because they couldn't find a constitution.
Wow.
And all those sort of things. So I'm saying this to say that even though I was a player, I was still involved in administration, so it wasn't hard for me to get
just fit into the president
role.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Jan, let's get back to that thing that got you so emotional for starters as we wrap up. Now you look at what is. You said not even netball in the schools. It must be pretty painful.
There's no netball in the schools. It's not in the curriculum.
What?
There's no netball.
What would be your suggestion, Jan, going forward as we? Any suggestions?
It just needs reviving.
No, but it's one thing to say reviving, but how would you go about? What would you suggest?
It needs reviving. It needs the persons who are interested in netball to take on the responsibility of doing it.
Okay.
Of administering the game.
Okay.
But I don't know if you realize now people always duck from the responsible positions.
Okay.
And always want somebody else to lead it.
Okay.
Then when it's being led and you get up there and you become first, you win a championship, then everybody wants to come on board.
Oh, okay.
And then when they come on board, because they were not totally involved,
just in for the ride.
Just in for the ride, they find it impossible to have the correct leadership style.
I've been in administrative positions within clubs. Have you had the same, should I say, experience of being a part of an executive and only a few persons do the donkey work, as we say? Have you had that?
Yeah, you find people declining from positions when they have been nominated to serve, and they decline the position, but they still stay and play. My thing is, it's not everybody who is cut out to be an administrator, right? But we definitely have people in Nevis who don't want to take the responsibility, but want to be on the bandwagon when everything is going rosy and winning. Because I remember up to 2003 when we won that championship, that under 23,
with the Tide man,
tied with Grenada, and I always say that Nevis won because we were tied with Grenada, but Grenada only came first because of a goal difference. Okay. Because in netball, they do the goal difference. They don't have a 10 minutes play to get the first. So we were tied in first.
As far as you can, I agree with you. We won.
And as far as I'm concerned, the netball complex was full.
Yeah, man.
Every day. You remember?
I remember.
And we were sponsored by Western Union.
Yeah, I remember.
Thanks to Wellington Paris. We had flags. We had Western Union flags.
And we had screaming people inside here supporting Nevis.
But guess what? Guess what? To show you how the people here are. When we were marching up from downtown to go up to the netball complex, because we always start in town and show off coming up the road.
Right. They thought that you're gonna lose.
People on the side were saying, "What's the Nevis team there? All the girls them, they smile and come last." No encouragement whatsoever.
Not expecting you to pull off such a magnificent
No encouragement, and that is what is lacking. People don't encourage you to do anything.
Your very own.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you could imagine for me to be there for all those years, it had to be me taking on the attitude of, I really don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
We're doing this, I love it, and we're going to do it.
Right. Well, Jan, so in terms of going forward, where would we find these people with the interest, with the desire To revive this
To
sport.
revive
Do we have them?
netball,
Do we have them here?
To revive netball, we have to go back into the communities
Okay.
and get netball going, netball clubs or teams going in the communities, right? And then getting them on
In
a
the
netball
schools?
association.
Okay.
Well, the school is run by the government,
Okay.
right? So they have it on the curriculum, and they will play their netball in the schools. And if they have a school championship or something like that,
Right.
then they could send their winning team.
So-
But that
so-
is where you have to start.
So you think just as they have a primary schools cricket tournament, they have a primary schools football tournament, we should be seeking as of urgently to start to have a primary school netball tournament.
They used to have it, you know.
Yeah,
But
but
then
we
it
should be
just,
having it
it
now.
just disappeared
Yeah.
off of the
So
curriculum.
that's definitely one way to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you had people like Carol Warden, so who used to who was an outstanding netballer and who used to coach netball in the schools.
Right.
You know, but it just disappeared, and the poor girls. I'm really sorry for them, because they love the game. A lot of them want to learn. Parents come to me, when you're going to start. I wanted to use one of the netball courts, the one in Bath Village, but when I checked the court, it's not good.
Okay.
There are, I think, only the court in Brown Hill
Okay.
and Gingerland,
Yeah, Gingerland is pretty good.
right? But the netball complex, which is the home of netball, is all the courts are cracked up and the gate has been locked till 2017.
Wow. And that court has a legacy. It's officially called the Cicely
The Grelhall
Stevens Netball Complex.
Right.
I mean,
After
and
my
that
mother and
that
Doris
should be
Stevens.
very significant.
My name was up on the Players Pavilion,
Yeah.
because the Players Pavilion
And
was named
Crescentio
after me.
Flaherty
And
was
I
on
have-
the other one. Yeah.
And Crescentio Flaherty and
Lydia
Thompson
Thompson
Claxton. But I
Well-
went to the minister, and the minister told me that they don't have any money to fix the netball complex.
Well, let's
And I
hope
let that
it will
rest
happen.
there.
Let's hope it will happen now in 2020.
That's what I want to happen. And I've been trying, I've been wanting to talk about it, but I didn't talk about it because in Nevis, people always misconstrue everything that is said,
Okay.
you know?
Okay.
And I'm really glad for this opportunity to talk about it this afternoon, because I wanted
You
to get
wanted
it
to
out
get-
of me.
right,
I wanted to get it out of me. I wanted to tell the whole world how disappointed I am that we do not have netball being played in Nevis.
With having at least 2 players who have made it to the West Indies team and a lot who have
2
made
players
it
to
on
the West Indies team,
regional.
and I played international. That's the
Right.
highest way you can go.
Right.
Crescentio O'Flaherty and myself, we played world championships.
Right.
And there are a lot of girls who can get there,
Right.
but they don't have the opportunity to. And it's just they're wasting away.
Well, Jan, I'm hoping you're 74 now, looking like 18. I'm hoping that by the time you get to 80, that we'll have another winning Nevis netball team on the island. That is my hope. That is my wish for you.
And I'm hoping that we will be able to have a over 50 netball team. They call it the golden years.
Oh, because in
Because
cricket we
there
say
is-
masters.
Oh.
So in netball, I guess it would be the
They
golden
call it
years.
the golden years.
Okay.
Because there is one in the world.
Okay. And you'll play, right?
Of course.
Yes, we'll see that poison.
Because
grace once more.
because if you're a goal shooter, you just have to
You
be
just
in
have
there.
to,
You
yeah.
have to
Just
run
have to
up
get
and
the
down.
ball.
Just have to get-
Well, Jan, trust me, on behalf of the people of Nevis, we appreciate all of your significant contributions to the sport and to other things, of course, but today we're focusing on the sport. We want to thank you so much, and we know that once the opportunity is provided, you'll do your bit to ensure that this dream of yours becomes a reality. So thank you so much, and all the best in your continued Thank you, Jan. That's our package for this evening. I am Curtis Morton, reminding you that you can watch sports if you're not fit. But to play sports requires fitness, diligence, and sacrifice. Have a good night.